Hello and welcome to my video all about how to knit the easy eyelet lace stitch. In a previous video I showed you how to do yarn overs, and in that video I mentioned that yarn overs can be used to make a lace pattern in knitting. In fact, yarn overs are essential in lace knitting because it's the yarn over that creates the hole in the knitting. If you arrange these yarn over holes in a nice pattern, then obviously you get a decorative, lacy effect in your knitting. If you're not quite sure how to do yarn overs or what they're all about, then feel free to look at my yarn over video before you begin. This particular pattern is a 4-row repeat, and 3 of those rows are just simple knit or purl rows. This is perhaps the easiest example of lace knitting, and so it's great for beginners who haven't done any lace knitting before. Okay, so let's get started. To begin, you need to cast on a multiple of 3 stitches plus 2. So in my case, I'm using 14 stitches, which is 4 times 3, which is 12, plus 2, which is 14. Okay, so the very first row is simply knit stitches. So all I'm going to do is do knit stitches all across the row. And then the second row is simply purl stitches. You'll recognise this alternating between knit rows and purl rows as stockinette stitch. And then we're on to row 3, which is where things get a bit interesting. So we just do 2 regular knit stitches to begin. And then we do the repeating section of the row, which consists of a yarn over, a K2 tog and a knit stitch. So to begin, it's a yarn over, and to do a yarn over, you simply take the yarn from behind the needles, between the needles to the front. This is the type of yarn over you do between 2 knit stitches. And that's all there is to it. That's 1 yarn over completed. And now we move on to the K2 tog. So we take the right hand needle up through the next 2 stitches and knit them together. Note that you're taking the yarn from the front of the needles around the right hand side to the back in order to complete that K2 tog. And that's what creates the yarn over, the movement of the yarn from the front to the back of the needles. So if we look at the right hand needle now, you'll be able to see that the bottom 2 stitches were the 2 knit stitches we did, and then there was the yarn over, which you can see is a slightly diagonal stitch, and underneath that you can see the hole or eyelet, which is so important in lace knitting. And above that is the K2 tog. Okay, so after the K2 tog, you just do a regular knit stitch. And that completes the repeating pattern. And now we just repeat the last 3 steps that we did. So again, we do a yarn over. So you take the yarn from the back of the needles to the front, then do a K2 tog, taking the yarn from the front to the back in order to complete it, and then doing 1 knit stitch, and then repeating again. So yarn over, K2 tog, knit 1. And you repeat those 3 steps until the end of the row. And then for row number 4, all we do is a row of purl stitches. And it's as simple as that. That's the 4-row pattern repeat for the easy eyelet lace stitch. I'm now just going to repeat those 4 rows a few more times so you can see what the finished pattern will look like. Okay, so here we are, and you can see all the eyelets all evenly spaced across the knitting. One thing to note about lace knitting is that it's usually knit in a much finer yarn than what I'm using today. I'm using double knit yarn, which is sort of a medium weight yarn, and usually lace is knitted in something a lot more fine and delicate, because really the point of lace knitting is that it looks all floaty and elegant and delicate. So that's just something to bear in mind, because lace knitting does look better when you use a fine weight of yarn. I really hope you found this video useful, and I hope you enjoy knitting this pattern. Thank you very much for watching.